Arcane is a brilliant show with amazing world building and intriguing character development. Each character, though fantastical in design, feels like someone you could actually meet in real life. Their struggles, though otherworldly, somehow feel also familiar. I don't think anyone who enjoyed the show walked away from it thinking, the show was good, but the characters were pretty mid. In fact, many fans of the show praise the characters as its biggest achievement. But why is that? How can a show that's a prequel to a video game and exists in a world of fantasy and magic have characters that are so relatable that their struggles bring tears to your eyes? What's up, humans? I'm Steven, and this is why Arcane's character structure is a masterpiece. In the last video, we discussed the hero's journey and how Arcane's characters both subvert and respect it at the same time. And if you haven't seen that video, I highly suggest you go check that one out first, then join us back over here. Now in this video, I want to start off with everyone's favorite enforcer and one half of the most anticipated ship since Marceline and Bubblegum, Caitlyn. But before I talk about her, I have to talk about that's right, Shingeki no Kyojin is my all-time favorite story ever told, and that's because of its unorthodox storytelling and unique character development. And some of its greatest story beats have been adopted by Arcane and seamlessly blended into the world of Piltover. Now, if you don't want to hear about Attack on Titan or are new to the series and want to avoid spoilers, please feel free to skip to this part of the video. Don't worry, you'll still get the gist of this discussion. This is just a little bonus for AOT fans. Alright, let's begin. Now, if you were to ask someone who the main character of AOT is, a lot of people would say Eren Yeager, and they'd be right. Well, half right. Attack on Titan has two main characters, Eren Yeager and Reiner Braun. However, that knowledge isn't really revealed to the audience until much later in the story. In fact, we don't even know that Reiner is anything more than a side character until he's revealed to be the Armored Titan. This, in my opinion, is one of the best and most innovative things about Attack on Titan. And while having multiple lead characters isn't wildly innovative, it's the way the story unfolds around these characters that's so unique in storytelling. Choosing to tell the story from one of your main character's perspective first, before even introducing the second main character, who exists on the opposite ends of the spectrum, actively engages the viewer and makes them question their choices of whom to be empathetic towards. The story of Reiner and Eren is extremely similar to the story of Vi and Caitlyn, two kids who grew up on opposite sides of a war they never started, indoctrinated to be against the other side, who find common ground and perspective through living in the other's shoes, but ultimately realize that the world around them is too rigid for either of them to change. And this is just a surface level look at the similarities between the characters. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to make a video on the parallels between Vi, Caitlyn, Eren, and Reiner. Believe me, the similarities are staggering. Now, if I were to ask anyone who the main character of Arcane is, some would say Vi and Jinx, some might say Jace, but the truth is, there are four main characters: Violet, Jace, Silco, and Caitlyn. I know I can already hear you saying, but what about Jinx? Don't worry, Jinx is getting a whole section to herself, but quick spoiler for that part of the video, Jinx isn't the main character. She's you, the audience. Caitlyn is the fourth main character because of something I mentioned in the last video, reflections. If Vi and Vander, Silco and Jinx, Grayson and Caitlyn are reflections of each other in a mentor-mentee sense, then Caitlyn, Vi, Jace, and Silco are reflections of each other in a foil and hero sense. Acts 2 and 3 of Arcane focus on the tensions between Topside and the Undercity, with Jace and Silco leading their respective people. Jace is the hero and Silco is his foil, or vice versa depending on how you look at it. But it also focuses on Vi and Caitlyn's progression to becoming the successors of this War of Two Cities. If the two are unable to find common ground among their people, they are doomed to succeed Jace and Silco just as they succeeded Vander and Grayson. Which brings us to Caitlyn's hero's journey. Okay, quick recap. The hero's journey is a storytelling structure that shows the progression of a character becoming who they are meant to be. Though the hero's journey varies from story to story, every journey has an ordinary world, which is the starting point for the character, an inciting event that forces the hero to act, a mentor who guides the hero and eventually dies, a turning point where the hero is forced to question everything they know, a victory, and a journey home. Caitlyn begins her journey much like any young aspiring law enforcement official, with a desire to help people and uphold justice. This is her ordinary world. Her inciting event is when Jinx bombs her squad and steals the gemstone. This officially puts Caitlyn on her journey. For the rest of the show, she will be forced to reevaluate what justice means and her role in this world as an enforcer. Caitlyn doesn't know it, but she is every bit as important to the story and the future of Piltover as Vi. In every hero's journey, there is a turning point. My professor in film school described it as the main character leaving the land of I want and stepping over into the land of I need. Caitlyn is inspired by Grayson and how she has protected the people of Topside and upheld the law. Caitlyn wants to be like Grayson and defend her people from the unjust Undercity who wishes them harm. But what she needs is to understand how the people of the Undercity are oppressed by Topside, and that her real duty as an enforcer is to protect the people on both sides as they are still one city. Let's compare Caitlyn to one of the most iconic hero's journey characters, Luke Skywalker. Kate and Luke believe that they are meant for something bigger and are eagerly awaiting adventure to find them. However, they both handle the call to adventure differently. When adventure calls to Luke, he hesitates and refuses it.
You must learn the ways of the Force, if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Alderaan? I'm not going to Alderaan. I've got to get home. It's late. I'm in for it as it is.
I need your help, Luke. She needs your help.
I can't get involved. I've got work to do. It's not that I like the Empire. I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now.
It's not until stormtroopers burn down his home and kill his family that he is forced to answer the call. Caitlyn, on the other hand, actively seeks out her adventure by looking into Jinx's original crime. She never refuses the call. In fact, the call refuses her.
Thanks, but I already have a job.
No, you don't. After the attack, your parents spoke to the sheriff. This is the best I could do.
And even still, she takes matters into her own hands and proceeds fearlessly into her hero's journey. This is actually an interesting narrative when you look at it, as it displays how modern pop culture portrays destiny as it pertains to men versus women. In Hollywood, men are usually the reluctant heroes. Life constantly offers them adventure, while women typically must seek it out for themselves and are even upstaged by the men who adventure so freely comes. This narrative has existed throughout most of human culture, as for ages, men were seen as the ones who go off to war while women stay home and protect the ordinary world. This ironically works in Caitlyn's favor, as by actively pushing towards adventure, all of the knowledge and perspective she needs is revealed to her by simply following the path. One of the most interesting things about Caitlyn is she's the only enforcer we've seen to grace the Undercity without a breathing mask. This signifies how she doesn't see herself as better than the people of the Undercity. She is a public servant and surrenders herself to the same hardships as the people. While the bridge between Topside and the Undercity has a legacy drenched in blood and acts as a barrier between the two sides, Caitlyn's destiny is to be the actual bridge that unites the two cities. In a perfect world, being the daughter of a counselor and the love interest of the ideal leader of the Undercity, she could help bring forth legislation that benefits both sides and allows for a harmonious relationship. But this isn't a perfect world. It's trapped in a cycle that's seemingly unbreakable, and we can infer that through Caitlyn's mentor, Grayson. Though Grayson has the smallest amount of screen time between the major characters, it's reinforced throughout the show that she was the best of the enforcers. Marcus is constantly reminded of her greatness as he tries to fill her position, and a monument is even built to honor her legacy. For years, her cooperation with Vander allowed the cities to exist in a pseudo form of peacetime, but obviously things weren't always that way. We don't get much information about where Grayson was during the original Battle of the Bridge, but based on how much this show relies on reflections, I'd like to believe that she started out much like Caitlyn. She wanted to protect the people of Topside from the seedy Undercity, but her time in the Forest showed her that things aren't as black and white. Perhaps Grayson and Vander crossed paths in their youth and tried to find common ground like Vi and Caitlyn, but tensions rose too high and the conflict on the bridge happened. Even if that's not exactly what happened, at some point, Vander and Grayson agreed that an unofficial peace treaty was the only possible course of action at the time, a move we see echoed by Jace and Silco. Grayson, like Vander, has completed her hero's journey and has become the mentor that helps Caitlyn move towards her own journey. But if Grayson was the best of the enforcers, and even she couldn't bring about change, it stands to reason that Caitlyn won't be able to either. And as we see later on, the reason Caitlyn is unable to complete her hero's journey is Jinx. So I spent a lot of time trying to piece together a hero's journey for Jinx, and I just couldn't. She never exactly sets out on a path like the rest of the characters. But then I realized, Arcane is a show based on a video game. and Powder is the quintessential RPG character. After the flashback sequence at the beginning of the show, we get a true introduction to Powder as the gang sets out on a heist. When we see Powder, she stands above the city. It's likely her first time topside, and she is eager but also nervous about her first mission. Powder is the viewer in this scenario, new to the world, excited and nervous about the journey. An extreme amount of potential, but doesn't yet have the skills to go with it. If you've ever played any role-playing game, this is exactly how your avatar starts out, and after a quick cutscene, you're thrown into the fire. Your first trial shows you some of the things you can do but need to improve on, as well as your definite limitations at this stage of the game. The topside heist acts as the first level of the game for Powder. You usually either fail this mission intentionally by game design, or you survive by the skin of your teeth without things going according to plan, which we see with this heist. Arcane uses Jinx as the vessel through which we see the world of Piltover, but to make it more engaging, they frame her story like that of a video game in order to make the viewer feel even more immersed. A big indicator of this is the fact that much like you controlling a video game, every time the world changes, it's because of Jinx or Powder. When Powder uncovers the Hex Gems, it escalates the tensions between Topside and the Undercity, puts Jace on his path to refining Hex tech, and forces Vander to make good on his deal with Grayson. When she sends in her monkey bomb, she causes the death of her family, gives Silk Coaling to power, and Vi goes to jail. Everything Jinx or Powder does drastically alters the world of Piltover, just like the user does in the video game. It is often directly or indirectly through her that these characters either start, fail, or complete their hero's journey. Without Jinx or Powder, everyone stays in their ordinary world. Ultimately, Arcane had an uphill battle when taking on this task. Many of the characters have become beloved playable characters in League of Legends over the years, and developing a story that gives each of them not only adequate screen time, but also interesting perspectives and individual struggles is no easy feat. Choosing to put each of them on their own hero's journey is quite fitting, considering most of them end up becoming legends in their own right. Arcane is a prime example of how to handle a large cast of characters and not shortchange them in the process. Even characters that have limited screen time like Echo, Heimerdinger, and Sylvika still get enough focus to reveal their complex inner workings as it pertains to their role in the world of Piltover. This show will indeed go down in the pantheon of great stories, and the complex yet familiar character development is surely one of the reasons why. And that, my friends, is why Arcane's character structure is a masterpiece.